Hey everybody, welcome to our Sensei public webinar today. It is closing a completed project in Microsoft Project. It is I, your old friend Dale Howard, your presenter. I am the Director of Education for Sensei Project Solutions. I am currently one of only 28 Microsoft Project MVPs, or Most Valuable Professionals, in the entire world, and one of only 5 MVPs in the US. MVP is an honorary title that I have now possessed for 15 years and hoping to make it an even 16, but time will tell. I'm currently the co-author of 21 books on Microsoft Project, Project Server, and Project Online. I am currently co-authoring book number 22. It is a book for portfolio managers and executives who use Project Online. And then I'm waiting to work on books 23 and 24. So I suppose by the time I get this career all said and done, it'll be 25 or more. Who knows? To date me a bit, I've used every version of Microsoft Project, going back to version 4.0 for Windows 95, and I've used every version of Microsoft's PPM tool since it was introduced originally in the year 2000 under the original name of Project Central. I am speaking to you live today, but not in person, from my home office here in Ellisville, Missouri. I'm in a west suburb of St. Louis. A little bit about our sponsor. We are Sensei Project Solutions. A singular honor has come our way. We were Microsoft's PPM Partner of the Year winner back in 2014, and we have been a finalist every year since except for 2016. And I don't know what happened there, but we have been a finalist, one of 3 finalists worldwide in 2015, 2017, and 2018. Our bread and butter is Microsoft Project, Project Online, and Project Server. We eat our own dog food. We use these tools to manage our business and our projects. If you should be in need of a project partner, I would encourage you to consider Sensei. And if you're already one of our existing clients, we do thank you very, very much for your business. For that, we are grateful. Now, the topics I'm going to present in this webinar, I want to make a disclaimer first. My assumption is that the topics in this webinar are only for people who manage desktop projects only. That means projects you're managing in the Microsoft Project desktop application and you have saved as MPP files. There are additional steps that you would need to do if you're using Project Server or Project Online, but this is a desktop-only webinar, so I will not mention those steps and complicate things. So what we'll be talking about today will be, number 1, closing a completed project. Then number 2, how to analyze variance in a completed project. And then number 3, I bet the reason why you're here today is to learn how to use the Compare Projects tool to compare changes in the life of the project. So let's go ahead and jump in. Topic number 1, closing a completed project. Now, the steps that you need to follow to close a completed project, my friends, are pretty simple and straightforward. Step 1, you'll need to enter task progress for any tasks completed during the final week of the project. Then you will need to set the status date value to be the last day of the final reporting period. You will then want to confirm that there are truly no hours of remaining work anywhere in the project. If there is remaining work anywhere, that means you have tasks that are not yet marked as completed. You will want to do this, and this is one that inevitably trips people up. You will want to confirm that all milestones have been marked as completed And then you will also want to confirm that there is a blue check mark that will appear in the indicators column for the project summary task, also known as row 0 or task 0. That will indicate that the entire project is finally completed. Now, I did want to let you know, and I'm just going to bump ahead to this PowerPoint slide. I'm going to let you know that the first point we will stop for questions will be how to close a completed project when I get my demo done. So let me switch to my Microsoft project. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a project that is currently in progress and is almost finished. Now, if I scroll down through the project, you can see that almost every task has that blue check mark indicator. And now we're down to task number 95, which is set to occur during the final week of the project. You can see that there are 2 remaining tasks and then 2 milestones that need to be marked as completed to complete the project. Now, there are many ways for you to manually enter progress in a Microsoft project schedule. What I have done for the purposes of this demo is I have customized the default tracking table. And let me scroll down here again, go to task number 95, and let me pull the split bar over to the right so I can actually show you how I have customized this default tracking table. This is how you can manually enter progress using what I call the percent complete method of tracking. If you want to track progress using the percent complete method, what you should capture from your team members, if at all possible, are when did they actually start work on a task, how far done are they, how many days do they think they have left, and then when they actually finish, you'll need to capture the actual finish date that they tell you. So for example, the task was supposed to finish maybe on a Wednesday, but they didn't finish until a Friday. And that task happened to be a critical task. That slippage will cause the whole project to slip 2 days. So you want your method of tracking progress to be date sensitive, even if it's the very, very simple percent complete. Now, beyond this, I've also added the start column and the finish column to let me know when things were supposed to start and when things were supposed to finish as currently scheduled. So we're in the final week. We're in a team meeting with our team members, and Eddie Mason reports the following. He actually started work on this task 5/6 of 19 as originally scheduled. Eddie also said, "Oh, and I'm done." And then we ask him, "Okay, Eddie, what day did you actually finish?" We're not going to mark 100% because the software will assume he finished on time and on schedule. And we need to know, Eddie, did you finish on time and on schedule? And what Eddie said is, well, I did actually finish on 5/7 of 19 as scheduled. That's a good lad. Eddie got her done on time. Then we ask Eddie, so Eddie, on the task finalized project closure report, what day did you actually start? And Eddie said, I started on 5/8 of 19. And he said, and I'm done. And then we said again, okay, Eddie, what day did you actually finish? He did not finish on the 9th as expected. The work spilled over into May the 10th. So he said, I finished on 5/10 of 19. Oops, look, we got slippage, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the final 2 tasks are milestones, and we are ready to mark them as completed. The easiest way to mark a milestone as completed is to highlight the milestones, and in the schedule section of the task ribbon, you have a button called 100% complete. So if I click that, Microsoft Project will mark the milestones done, and it will also assume that they finished as currently scheduled. So now I've put in the progress for the final week. There's a few more steps I need to do. So let me go back to the regular entry table. We'll pull the split bar over to the right edge of the duration column. And oh, look, row 0 isn't showing a blue check mark. That means I've missed a task somewhere in the schedule. Now, let me also show you the default behavior of Microsoft Project if you forget to mark a milestone as completed. So I'm going to right click on the task mode column header, insert column, and I'm going to insert percent complete. See that, ladies and gentlemen? Whenever you see percent complete is 99%, that means that you've missed a milestone somewhere in the schedule. So let me go ahead and hide that column. And I will show you the easiest way to find the missing milestone or any tasks that are not marked as done. If you go to the View ribbon and click the Filter Pick List button, there is a filter that will help you to spot any tasks not marked as done very easily. It's called Incomplete Tasks. So if I pick that filter, look, ladies and gentlemen, it's the task number 43, Design Document Complete. You know what? I just plain forgot it. Looks like it was an oversight. So let me go ahead and mark it done right now. And then look, row 0 does show the blue check mark indicating the project is completely finished. Next thing, I do want to absolutely confirm that there is no remaining work anywhere in this project. So what I will do is bring up the work table. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I right mouse clicked on the Select All button. That's right above your row 0 ID number, and I picked the work table. So we'll look in the remaining column. Look, remaining work is 0, so we're good. Let's go back to the entry table. Last step, what I need to do is set the status date. See right here? That's the status date line from last week. I need to move it over to Friday of the current week. So here's how I'll do that. I'll go to the project ribbon. Status date is currently set as 5/3 of 19. I'll go ahead and set it as 5/10 of 19. Click OK. Bingo. And there we have it. Now, that marks the project as completed. So the next thing I want to do is see if you have any questions. So let's go real quickly to the questions pane. Looks like we might have a question. So let me pop out the question pane. Matt, if the project you're hoping to close has external predecessors, successors, might this change the process? Matt, yes, absolutely. You would need to confirm that the external predecessors have been completed before you can mark any successors in the current project. So if you're not in control of that schedule, I think you need to have a meeting with a fellow project manager or two to get that information. So Matt, yes, it would change the process. Before I would enter progress for the current week, in fact, before I would even have team members work on anything during the current week, I'd want to make sure the external predecessor or predecessors were completed. All right, that was a good question. Very good. All right, so folks, let's continue on. Let's keep this show on the road. Next thing you need to do is a little bit of analyzing final variance in the completed project. Now you can analyze variance in your Microsoft project schedule in at least 4 locations. The first one I always go to is the tracking Gantt view, because that will graphically display task slippage and project slippage. immediately I would want to look at the variance table to see start and finish date slippage. And then I would also want to look at the work table to see if our work has gone over its original budget. And then finally, if needed, I would go to the cost table to determine if the project is going over budget on its original planned costs. Now, again, let me give you the heads up, ladies and gentlemen. Right after this demo, I'll entertain your questions again. So everybody be thinking about your questions. So in the Microsoft project schedule, I recommend the first place you go to analyze variance is always the tracking Gantt view. Now, the tracking Gantt view will show you the slippage in your project visually. At the very, very end of the project, when every task is completed, you will see dark blue Gantt bars representing the completed tasks and their final completion schedule, and you will see gray bars that represent the original baseline schedule of each task. So as I start down through the schedule, anything where the dark blue bar extends to the right of its gray bar, that means that task has slipped. So if I scroll to the right and scroll through the schedule, you can see there is a lot of slippage in this schedule. Now let me go ahead and just scroll all the way down to the end, and you can see what our final slippage actually looks like. Yeah, there's a lot of slippage here. So once you see visually depicted the slippage in the schedule, the next thing I think you would want to do is know, how bad is the slippage? Give me the numbers, not just a nice picture. So ladies and gentlemen, what you can do is you can change to the variance table. Now the variance table in Microsoft Project will allow you to see two very important columns, start variance and finish variance. The one I think you care the most about is finish variance. So right now it looks like we're slightly over 2 weeks late on completion, 11.13 days late. But as I start down through the schedule, you're going to see something kind of unusual. You're going to see sections where there's 19 days and 15 days and so forth. Look, testing, 19, 19, 19. These were all on the critical path at one time, implementation plan. And then all of a sudden, here, cutover plan, we drop to only 10 days. Now, wait a minute. What is going on here? How is that possible? Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to tip you off to something. If I double click task number 90, in this particular table, you can't see that there's a note on this task. But if I double click the task and go to the Notes tab, I can see that this task was a new task added via change request number 12357. It was added on January 15th at the request of the customer. And what I did is I updated the baseline for this task and all of the tasks that were impacted by the new task as well. Now, what that does is it makes those additional successor tasks only a little bit late in the schedule instead of the full 19 days. This is as a consequence of a baselining methodology our company recommends, which is that you baseline new tasks plus any tasks that are impacted by them, because those new tasks will cause the impacted task to be delayed, and it isn't their fault that they're slipping. So folks, I can clearly see at this point, I've now got 11.13 days of slipping. Next thing I need to do is, well, have we gone over budget on work? So I'll switch to the work table, And here is where we look at the column. It is called variance. The real name, by the way, is work variance. I can see that we're not quite 300 hours over our original planned budget. And you know, doggone it, when work goes over budget, if you're tracking costs in the project, the cost is going to go over budget as well. So if I right click on select all and choose the cost table, ladies and gentlemen, there is the impact in the variance column. By the way, real name of that is cost variance. We can see that we're just about $35,000 over budget on cost for this project. And again, on this, I can always scroll down and I can always see the tasks where the variance is occurring. In fact, if I go all the way down to the very end, you know that task number 96 where the work went 1 day late? Look, that caused or where the task itself went 1 day late, that causes the work to go over budget. It went over budget $640. So folks, that's how to analyze variance in a closed project. So let's go ahead and ask for questions. Let's see if anybody has any questions at this point. Let me pop out the questions pane. Nope, I don't see any questions. So folks, let's move on to the topic I think that is the cause of you being here today. And that is how to use the Compare Projects tool in Microsoft Project. What the Compare Projects tool allows you to do is to compare differences between the original planned project after you baselined it and the final completed project after you've marked it as done. Now, here is an absolutely mandatory requirement. See, I even put the name in red, mandatory requirement to get your attention. After you baseline your project and before you enter any progress for the first week, you need to save a copy of your original project file. You have to save a copy. Now, what I like to do to remove any doubt is I append the word original at the end of the file name to make sure I know that that was my original starting copy. So folks, you must have a copy of the original planned project before you can use the Compare Projects tool. So if you don't have a copy, you're just plain out of luck. Now, the Compare Projects tool can compare the differences between tasks in the original and completed projects and resources in the original and the completed projects. The comparison differences are not shown in the variance, work, and cost table, at least some of those comparisons. So the comparison will be things that you aren't already seeing in the variance, work, and cost table. Some of those differences could be items like this. You have renamed tasks in the schedule after you saved your baseline, or you added new team members to the project and swapped them for existing team members on certain tasks. The tool will reveal this. The tables won't. So how do you actually use the Compare Projects tool? To use the tool, you have to complete the following steps. Number one, you'll open the original project first, then you open the completed project. That is very important order. Then in the project section of the report ribbon, you'll click the Compare Projects button. And in the dialog that opens, you will select which task table you want to compare in the two projects and which resource table you want to compare. The default values are the task entry table and the resource entry table. but you can compare items like the work table, the variance table, etc. if you wanted to. You'll click the OK button, and then the wizard spins up its gyrations, and when it's done, it will display the comparison data in 3 different windows or panes. You will see at the top the comparison report, which includes a legend side pane so you can figure out what all the symbols mean. You'll also see at the bottom the completed project and the original project. So now let's go ahead and demo how to get started with it. So let me close this file, and here is what I will do. I will first open the original project. There's what I started with, and it is baselined. And now I will also open the completed project. And by the way, look, I've even appended the name completed on this to make sure, and on the other one it had the name original, just to make sure I don't goof up. And then in the report ribbon left end, we have the compare projects button. Look, compare the current project, see it's the completed one, to this previous, and look, there it is, it's the original one. That is the order that you want to compare, the completed one with the original one. And here are the tables, entry and entry for tasks and resources. When I click OK, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the tool is spinning up the comparison results. It is very exciting, actually, to see it all spin up, truthfully. Wow, look at that. And there we go. All right, now here's what I want you to notice. In the top pane, here's the comparison report window with the legend. Bottom window, we have the completed project, and another window at the bottom, the original project. Now let me get back to my PowerPoint, and let's resume the slideshow. So what else do you do? Then next, you should maximize the comparison report window and also close the timeline pane. I also recommend you widen the legend window and then widen any columns that need to be widened in the Gantt chart pane. I do also recommend you hide any columns that are not relevant to your comparison. For example, in my projects, I always use auto-scheduled tasks. I never, ever use manually scheduled. Therefore, the 3 task mode columns are not needed. The comparison report will then display 3 columns for each corresponding column in the 2 projects being compared. You will see a column prefaced by the name current, and that's the value from the completed project. You'll see a column prefaced with the word previous, and that is the column from the original starting project. And then you'll see another column prefaced with the word diff, D-I-F-F, representing the difference between the 2 projects. So let's go ahead and try that out. Also, what you will want to do is to focus on the values that are in the differences columns. And you will study the 3 columns where you see the word different between them. You'll also look for graphical indicators in the indicators column, because this can show you items like renamed tasks or new tasks added, new resources added, and the like. You can also study the Gantt chart pane to compare each green Gantt bar with its purple to see slippage in the schedule. Then you can do a resource comparison as well by clicking the resource comparison button, and you'll use exactly the same process for your resource comparison. So let me get back to the comparison report, And what I'll do is I'll maximize it. I will hide the timeline pane. I'll widen the legend side pane. I will hide the 3 task mode columns because they are not relevant. And then this is what I wanted to show you. The first set of columns: current duration, previous duration, duration difference. See here, everybody, as I go down through the schedule, this is actually showing me duration variances. Look, this task went 3 days long. This task went 1 day long, and so forth. So let's drag the split bar over to the right, and we can see all of the comparisons. Folks, it's everything in the entry table. So you've got 3 columns for start date, 3 columns for finish date, 3 columns for predecessors, 3 columns for successors, 3 columns for resource names as well. Now, if I scroll down to the very bottom, I want you to notice that there are the different values on these final tasks, tasks 93 through 95. It's all the tasks in the project closure report section. And look, there are predecessor differences. Why are there differences? It's because of the new task added through change control up in the previous section. Folks, you see the green plus here? That is the new task added through change control. See, there is the tip-off, my friends. Also, if you ever see the word different in the resource names diff column, what you can always do is auto filter on the word different to show the tasks that have different resources assigned. And what I wanted to show you here is these 4 tasks. There are differences in the resources assigned. Now, let me go ahead and widen the resource names column a bit. Let me widen the current and the previous, and then I think we can see what's going on here. In the original schedule, we had a resource named Michelle West assigned at 80% units on these 4 tasks. At some later date, apparently Michelle was unavailable to work in this project. We brought in a new team member named Mickey Cobb, and Mickey Cobb was now swapped for Michelle West, and then later for a resource named Rod Mills, who also came up unavailable for the project. So when you do your comparison, you will truly want to study what you see in all of these columns, focusing on the diff columns as well. Now, Microsoft Project does also display green and purple Gantt bars that show you schedule slippage, but the truth is the best place to look for that is in the tracking Gantt view. It isn't here. It is really difficult, I've discovered, to actually locate tasks Gantt bars because the button called scroll to task doesn't work at all in this Gantt chart. So let me remove that auto filter, and then I will show you how to do the how to do a resource comparison. Now let me move my side pane out of the way here, and here we go. So there, I'm back to where I started. So let me show you a resource comparison as well. So here we go, folks, look at that. All of the stuff we needed was already there. All it had to do was switch tables for us. So look, here we are. There's Mickey Cobb. there is the new team member. She was not there when the project started. All right, and then one final thing I wanted to show you. If I go back to the task comparison all over again, this is pretty cool, folks. This is pretty cool. Then we'll entertain your questions. If you scroll down the indicators column, one thing you want to look for is a purple question mark. Purple question mark indicates any task that got renamed after the project was baselined. You see, the name of the task is not captured in the baseline. You'd never know how what a name was task originally unless you use the Compare Projects wizard. So as I go down here, look, this was renamed, and I'll tell you why I did it. I just felt like the task names were too long. It made the name column, the task name column, too wide every time I auto widened it. So folks, there we have it. So let's go ahead in our PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and wrap up, and then I'll take your questions. So I do want you to know that you can always save your comparison report project file for future reference. In fact, as part of your closure methodology, you might want to save the comparison report project MPP file as evidence of what happened over the life. And then what you can actually do is you can select the completed project, go back to the Compare Projects wizard again, select a different set of tables, and then study the results again. So folks, that's how you use this tool. Now let's see what questions you folks have. Matt asks, this is a great question. Is the comparison tool also available in Microsoft Project 2013? Matt, yes, absolutely. That tool has been in many generations of Microsoft Project. I'm pretty sure it's in Microsoft Project 2010. Now, just for fun, though, on my other computer here in the office, I have Microsoft Project 2010 installed. And Matt, where it is in 2010, it's in the reports section of the project ribbon. And in 2013, it is in the reports section, or the reports ribbon. So Matt, very, very good question. Well, folks, I went a little bit overtime today. I hope you don't object to a little bonus material. So I do thank you all for coming today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.